I am unwell. I am physically, spiritually, and emotionally in distress today. Snark Squad, we need to talk about the blatant misuse of non-disclosure agreements. We need to have a deeply uncomfortable conversation about, my stomach is literally turning just thinking about it, the weaponization of unique male anatomies. And we need to dissect the absolute unmitigated mess that was this reunion, because I am still recovering from the sheer audacity we were forced to witness on that stage.
The delusion wasn't just palpable, it was completely weaponized. What we witnessed was a literal masterclass in psychological deflection, pathological lying, and frankly, some of the most catastrophic legal advice ever broadcast on national television.
Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And babes, we hope you've had an amazing weekend because let me tell you, the wine is officially on deck today. My glass is poured straight to the brim, teetering on the edge of disaster, much like these marriages because we desperately need it.
Oh, cheers to that. I mean, if I spill this red wine on my couch, I am billing Carlos King directly for the upholstery cleaning. I am not paying for his mess.
As you absolutely should. Snark Squad, you have to understand the compromised state we are operating in right now. We just survived a treacherous 4-hour drive home from North Carolina.
A completely treacherous drive.
Literally. We were on a dude ranch adventure this weekend. 4 hours in a car, battling highway traffic, sheer chaos. And somehow, we still had a mountain of reality TV waiting to be watched the literal second we crossed the state line.
It was a survival situation, honestly. Yeah. And I have come to a firm analytical conclusion that road trips should legally require snacks every 30 minutes. Minimum.
Oh, completely agree.
If I don't have, like, a crunch, a carbohydrate, or a sour gummy to keep my brain stimulated while staring at endless asphalt, my cognitive function plummets and I become a liability to myself and others.
No, I totally get it. And the second I crossed the threshold of my home, the bags dropped to the floor and I was in my pajamas.
Immediately.
Instantly. The shoes flew off, the soft pants went on, and I collapsed onto the cushions. It is barely evening right now, and somehow my body feels like we've been awake for 3 consecutive days. My internal clock is completely shattered.
We're operating on fumes, caffeine, and pure petty energy right now. But when duty calls and the mess is this spectacular, you power through. The Snark Squad relies on our diagnostic breakdowns.
You are all absolutely worth powering through the exhaustion. We would never leave you hanging after a reunion like that. But before we get into the horrors of the Scott family, the weekend is almost over, so we need to do our high and low check-in for the upcoming work week.
Let's do it.
Okay, so my high is that I am so excited for a lighter schedule. The calendar is finally breathing a little bit. But my low, I am already dreading at least one specific appointment that I know deep in my soul is going to turn into absolute chaos. I can feel the tension headache forming behind my right eye right now, just anticipating the drama.
Preemptive stress is a very real physiological response. I mean, it really is. My high is that I am thrilled to debut my new embroidered scrubs. They look sharp, the tailoring is impeccable, and it is giving elevated medical professional.
Oh, I love that for you.
Thank you. But my low. I am preemptively rolling my eyes at the inevitable patient who will proudly sit in my chair, look me dead in the eyes, and admit they only floss the day before their dental visit.
Yeah, they always tell on themselves.
Please, spare me the theatrical performance. The periodontal ligaments do not lie. We have x-rays. We know you don't floss.
We always know. Okay, speaking of things we know, we have to confess to the Snark Squad. We need to discuss the absolute horrors of having to actually clean a horse barn at this dude ranch.
It was traumatizing.
Because, babes, while we were at the dude ranch, they actually made us do it.
They handed us tools, actual rusted farming implements.
I tried to romanticize it. I swear I did. For approximately 6 minutes, I was standing there, gripping a pitchfork, looking out at the majestic mountains, pretending I was in a Hallmark movie.
Oh, my gosh.
I was thinking, oh, I'm a city girl finding her roots. Maybe a handsome local lumberjack in flannel is going to walk in and help me shovel hay and we'll fall in love by the silo.
Let me aggressively shut down that narrative right now, because there was zero romance. There was only the overwhelming, eye-watering, pungent smell of raw manure and a choking layer of dust that instantly coated the back of my throat.
It was so bad.
And the horrifying, sobering realization that farm life requires actual physical labor. Glam baddies were simply not built for this.
We genuinely don't know how people live on farms every single day. Babes, soft girls were simply not built for this. I had a blister forming on my palm in under 10 minutes. My cuticles were in severe distress.
I was deeply concerned about my respiratory health and the particulate matter I was inhaling. But I will concede there was one redeeming factor to the entire ordeal.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
I got to drive a tractor for the very first time.
You are a literal menace to the countryside.
I felt ridiculously, intoxicatingly powerful. I mean, there is something about sitting 10 feet in the air on massive tires, operating a piece of heavy machinery that fundamentally alters your brain chemistry.
You were acting like you own the place.
I pretended I knew exactly what I was doing. I was pulling levers, staring stoically into the distance like a seasoned agricultural magnate.
Oh, you forced me to take way too many pictures of you. My camera roll is just 50 different angles of you posing on this green tractor, and you secretly wanted to do just one more lap because it was genuinely so fun. You refused to climb down.
I could have plowed an entire acre. I was ready to pivot my career into large-scale soy production. But then the reality of the grueling drive home hit us.
Oh, the drive home. I have to confess something to the Snark squad. The second we got in the car and the engine started, every single healthy eating plan we had meticulously crafted for the week was completely abandoned.
Just evaporated from our consciousness.
Exactly. And babes, we went to McDonald's.
We did, and I have zero regrets.
We required it for survival. We ordered the fries, and I don't know what kind of synthetic magic was in that specific batch of potatoes, but those fries somehow healed our fractured souls.
They were perfectly salted.
They resuscitated me.
We must also acknowledge the aggressive crispness of an ice-cold McDonald's Coke. I mean, the carbonation hits the back of your throat with a level of violence that is so incredibly satisfying when your central nervous system is exhausted.
Yes, it is a scientifically engineered beverage. And the chicken nuggets, they mysteriously disappeared before we even pulled into the driveway. We were just passing the cardboard box back and forth in a silent trance.
Sometimes a greasy, sodium-heavy road trip meal is exactly what the body ordered. It was medicinal.
It really was. Okay, babes, enough about our own chaotic weekend. Let's get into love and marriage, Huntsville. Because my jaw is still on the floor.
Let's unpack the madness systematically.
We have to start with Tisha and Marcel. I am physically exhausted by the energy these two projects. I mean, they are entering their 19th year of marriage, and they walked onto that reunion stage looking profoundly miserable.
It is physically painful to watch them interact.
Tisha looks like she is suffocating in a windowless room, and Marcel is just sitting there with this stone-cold, impenetrable arrogance.
We really have to analytically dissect Marcel's boss complex because it has mutated into something genuinely toxic. He doesn't want an equal partner in life or in business. He wants a subordinate employee who he can sleep with, whom he doesn't have to pay a salary, and who will never challenge his authority.
Yes, I was yelling at my TV. Let's talk about the lockout, because this is wild. Marcel literally pushed Tisha out of their joint businesses, Sculpt and Black.
It's unbelievable.
He goes behind her back, kicks her out of her own office space, and treats her like an intern who forgot to brew his morning coffee.
From a sociological standpoint, it's a textbook example of financial abuse. She desperately wants to be involved, but he sets the parameters of success so strictly and changes the rules so arbitrarily that it's statistically impossible for her to succeed. And his defense on that stage was infuriating.
Oh my gosh, the 2,080 hours thing?
Yes. He mockingly broke down that Tisha isn't dedicated for, and I quote, 2,080 hours a year.
I shrieked. Who talks to their wife of almost 2 decades like she's an underperforming middle manager at a logistics firm?
Let's do the math for the Snark squad to show how insidious this is. 40 hours a week multiplied by 52 weeks in a year equals exactly 2,080 hours. He's demanding that his wife work a standard, grueling corporate American work year for their businesses.
Which is insane.
But wait, he is demanding this while she is also the primary caretaker of their children and the manager of their domestic life. The blatant sexism is staggering. He sits there on national television and complains that Tisha leaves the office to pick up the kids or go to PTA meetings.
Excuse me. If Marcel went to a single PTA meeting once in a while, maybe she could stay at the office. Maybe if he picked up his own children from school, she could attend his precious afternoon strategy meetings. But no, he schedules the high-level meetings during school pickup time on purpose. It is a deliberate setup for her failure.
It's a classic manipulation tactic. He sets an impossible baseline. He wants the 1950s domestic wife who handles all the child rearing seamlessly, but he also demands the 2024 corporate girl boss co-founder who never clocks out.
Literally impossible.
He uses her failure to meet that standard as a justifiable excuse to lock her out of the business and control the household finances. It's dark.
It is so dark, and I feel so bad for her in one sense because she is clearly lost in this marriage. She wants to find herself outside of just being a mother, but then she gives us this total word salad on the couch about juggling hats and finding her place, and she just crumbles the second he pushes back with his deep voice. She just folds.
I would have significantly more sympathy if Tisha wasn't so completely inconsistent with her own narrative. I mean, I have to look at this coldly. She complains endlessly about being left out of the business, but then in the next breath, she admits on camera that she was actually happier and had more emotional balance when she was just a stay-at-home mom.
Right, she goes back and forth.
You cannot play both sides to maintain victimhood. Do you want to be the cutthroat corporate boss, or do you want to be the stay-at-home mom? Because right now, she just wants to complain about her reality without making an actionable choice to change it.
She just wants to complain, and Marçal doesn't foster an environment where she can make a choice. And then, oh my gosh, the absolute lowest point of the entire segment. Carlos King, in all his messy, instigating glory, turns to Martell for marriage advice for Tisha and Marçal.
I lost my mind. I lost my actual logical mind.
Martell, the man who single-handedly destroyed his own marriage with a sledgehammer. The man with a forever side chick who he funded while his wife was building their empire. Carlos looks at the wreckage of the Scott marriage and asks Martell for the blueprint to fix it.
It's insulting to the viewer's intelligence, but it reveals a lot about the patriarchal echo chamber of this cast.
And Martell has the nerve to look at Tisha, clear his throat, and tell her to just lose herself in her marriage and let the man lead. I threw a throw pillow across my living room.
Unbelievable.
Lose yourself in the marriage, submit to the man, erase your identity for his comfort. That is the exact literal advice that ruined Mel's life.
Let's bring up Mel's trauma, because she is the living, traumatized receipt for why taking Martell's advice is a one-way ticket to a ruined life. We need to look at the psychology of what Martell is suggesting. He is advocating for female erasure.
Yes, exactly.
Mel lost herself in that marriage for years. She submitted, she played the supportive traditional wife, she ignored her own boundaries to protect his ego, and what was her reward? Public humiliation, a shredded nervous system, and a deeply contentious divorce. Telling Tisha to follow that exact blueprint is sinister.
It really is sinister. He wants Tisha to suffer the way he made Mel suffer so he feels normal. And Marçal is sitting there on the couch, nodding slowly like Martell is dropping philosophical pearls of wisdom. It's an echo chamber of toxic masculinity.
And Tisha just absorbs it. She internalizes it and simmers in her own disempowerment. But you know who Tisha won't absorb anything from? Destiny.
Oh, that transition is flawless because Tisha is taking all of that misery, all of that disempowerment from Marçal and aiming it directly like a laser beam at Destiny. Let's get into the death of this friendship because this was brutal.
It's a fatality. There is no coming back from the psychological warfare displayed here.
I gasped when they played the flashback where Tisha called Destiny a hoe, the visceral venom in her voice. And then on the reunion stage, Tisha issues this complete non-apology. She apologizes for using the word, but double downs on the exact sentiment. She looks at Carlos and says she was right to say it, and still can't trust her.
Let's connect this to the psychological concept of projection, because the Snark Squad in the forums has this dynamic completely figured out. Tisha is projecting her miserable, powerless marriage with Marçal directly onto Destiny.
100%.
Think about the timeline of their friendship. When Destiny was at her absolute lowest, dealing with her brutal divorce, crying on camera, vulnerable, emotionally shattered, Tisha was right there. Tisha loved playing the supportive friend because hovering over Destiny's wreckage made Tisha feel superior about her own terrible marriage.
She needs to be the one doing slightly better.
It's a phenomenon called wound collecting. Tisha needs broken birds around her.
Yes. But now, Destiny is glowing. Destiny has a successful high-end real estate listing. Destiny is booked, busy, and unbothered. And the second Destiny found independent success and stopped crying on Tisha's shoulder. Tisha couldn't handle the shift in the power dynamic, so she started throwing vicious shade.
Exactly. Let's break down that open house snub, because it was a calculated microaggression. Destiny hosts a beautiful event for her real estate listing, and Tisha goes out of her way to attend, only to be entirely dismissive, making negative, undermining remarks about the property.
So rude.
And then on a reunion stage, Tisha tries to act completely oblivious. Her eyes get wide, her voice gets high, and she says, "What did I do? I was just being a friend."
It's maddening. I am screaming at Tisha through the TV. You know exactly what you did. You went there to humble her.
Tisha operates like a lying middle schooler on the playground. She pinches another kid under the desk when the teacher isn't looking, and then when the kid rightfully yells out in pain, Tisha bursts into theatrical tears and plays the victim. It's juvenile, covert manipulation designed to make the other person look crazy.
It is so juvenile. And then the final nail in the coffin. Carlos asks if they can move forward and repair the friendship. And Tisha puts on this fake, high and mighty pastoral voice, closes her eyes, and says, I release her with love.
The sheer pretension of that statement, its faux enlightenment used as a weapon.
And Destiny was iconic. She didn't flinch. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't respond. She just sat there completely unbothered, staring blankly ahead, letting Tisha look like an absolute fool talking to a brick wall. I have to applaud Destiny's silent treatment. It was the loudest, most devastating read on that entire stage.
Silence is an incredibly potent psychological weapon, and Destiny wielded it flawlessly. Narcissistic or highly manipulative behavior feeds on reaction. Tisha wanted a reaction. She wanted Destiny to get loud so Tisha could point her finger and say, see, she's the angry one.
Exactly, it's a trap.
Destiny recognized the trap and gave her nothing but a blank stare and absolute dust. By refusing to engage, Destiny took all of Tisha's power away. It was magnificent to watch.
It was a masterclass. But you know who didn't give dust? You know who engaged with full artillery? Nell. We have to talk about the Nell versus Kimmi and Tisha blow-up because my jaw detached from my face.
Nell activated, the safety was off, and it was a sight to behold.
I got incredibly animated during this entire sequence. Nell has been taking these little covert jabs and side eyes all season long from these women, and she finally went off. And the catalyst for the explosion, Kimmi. Kimmi inserting her entire self into a fight that had absolutely nothing to do with her.
Right, completely unnecessary.
Tisha and Nell are arguing about their own issues, and Kimmi suddenly catches a massive attitude, leaning forward, trying to sun Nell, and Nell just fires back like a cannon, just telling her to shut her mouth.
It was deeply satisfying to watch someone finally break the polite fourth wall. But we need to analytically shred Tisha's behavior in the lead-up to this explosion because it was vile. Tisha deciding to weaponize Fletcher's past infidelities just to hurt Nell is pure villainy.
It was a subterranean blow, the lowest of the low.
It wasn't just a low blow, it was premeditated emotional cruelty. Let's draw a direct reality TV analogy here. Tisha is acting exactly like Carly Red from the early seasons of Love and Hip Hop.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You remember Carly? She would source the most painful, humiliating, devastating gossip about her own friends, and she would deliver it on camera, not out of genuine concern, but specifically to inflict maximum pain and secure her own screen time. Tisha did the exact same thing to Nell.
Literally the same thing.
Tisha is miserable at home with Marcel. She secretly envies Nell's strength, so she pulls out the cheating rumors to publicly break Nell down out of pure jealousy.
Carly Red is the perfect analogy. It's so messy and unnecessary. She just wanted to see Nell cry. And then when Nell rightfully gets angry, defends her marriage, defends her husband, and raises her voice to match the disrespect, what happens? The tone police arrive with their sirens blaring.
Ah, yes, the tone police.
Oh.
Suddenly, Kimmi, of all people, is an expert in vocal moderation and conflict resolution etiquette.
Kimmi plays the ultimate victim. She shrinks back and claims that Nell's yelling triggered her deep childhood trauma, specifically bringing up her dad yelling at her mom when she was a little girl. Now, Snark Squad, I have a heart. Trauma is very real. Childhood wounds are real. But in this specific moment, in the context of a reality TV reunion where everyone has been screaming for 3 hours, I call BS.
It is the textbook weaponization of therapy speak to avoid accountability. I'm going to be sarcastic, but we need to look at the empirical evidence of this show. Maurice yells at Kimmi constantly. We've watched it for multiple seasons. Maurice gets loud. He gets condescending. His veins pop. He talks over her. He dismisses her feelings. Does his yelling trigger her childhood trauma? Apparently not enough to leave him or demand he go to anger management. Furthermore, Kimmi yells at everybody else. We have seen Kimmi raise her voice and get incredibly aggressive countless times.
Exactly. You do not get to be the tone police just because Nell is finally holding you accountable for your own messy, instigating behavior. You don't get to poke a bear with a stick and then when the bear roars, cry that the noise hurts your ears. It is such a cop-out.
It's an incredibly manipulative tactic known as Darvo. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Kimmi's essentially saying, you are reacting to my bad behavior too loudly, therefore you are the actual abuser in this situation, and I am the victim of your volume. It's gaslighting 101.
And the absolute peak of the delusion, the crescendo of this entire fight, is Kimmi threatening to dunk Nell in the pool. I laughed out loud. I barked with laughter in my living room. Kimmi is screaming, veins popping, "I'll dunk your ass in that pool." And Nell, who is literally on one goddamn leg, using a wheelchair and a heavily bedazzled cane for half the season, is just sitting there, completely unbothered.
It was amazing.
Looking at Kimmi like she's a nuisance insect buzzing around her potato salad, just calmly telling the truth.
I am predicting it right now, on the record, from a purely biomechanical standpoint. Nell would unequivocally win in a physical altercation with Kimmi. Without question, Nell has grounded grown woman strength. Kimmi has nervous, frantic, barking chihuahua energy. Nell wouldn't even need to stand up. She could parry Kimmi's attacks with the cane alone.
With the cane. A quick, calculated swipe to the ankles, and Kimmi is in the water. Nell is a legend for just staying seated and slowly dismantling Kimmi's dignity. But speaking of dignity, or the complete horrifying lack thereof, Tisha and Kimmi aren't the only ones relying on fabricated narratives. That brings us to the Vegas allegations, the NDAs, and, the anatomy.
Prepare your stomachs and your legal textbooks, Snark Squad.
I am physically cringing just bringing this up. We have to talk about Martell's explosive claim on this stage. Martell, with a straight face, looks at the group and claims that Maurice and Marçal shared a side chick, double-teamed a woman in a Vegas hotel room, just casually drops a nuclear bomb on both marriages.
And of course, Carlos, in his black and white referee stripes, just lets this massive marriage-ruining allegation breathe on the stage. He doesn't cut to commercial, he leans in.
And the defense from the Scott brothers. It was the dumbest, most insulting NDA defense I have ever heard in my entire life. Marçal looks dead in the camera, adjusts his suit, and claims that only stupid people like Martell and Chris use NDAs for cheating. He actually argues that because Maurice is a lawyer and Marçal is so highly intelligent, they're simply too smart for NDAs. Like, NDAs are a tool for the intellectually inferior.
I aggressively roasted my television screen when he uttered that sentence. It is the most legally inaccurate, fundamentally flawed argument imaginable. Let's look at the actual mechanics of high net worth damage control. Beyonce and Jay-Z, they use NDAs. For everything from their nannies to their contractors, billionaires, politicians, elite athletes, they all use NDAs.
Literally everyone with money.
Non-disclosure agreements are literally the primary legal mechanism that wealthy, powerful people use to hide their indiscretions and silence accusers. NDAs are not for stupid people. They are the standard operating procedure for smart people doing bad things.
Yes, exactly. If anything, Maurice being a literal attorney means he would absolutely draft an ironclad, legally binding NDA for a Vegas side chick. He knows how to write one. Marçal's defense actually makes him look significantly guiltier. It's like a chef saying he's too smart to use a knife.
It was a disastrous attempt at deflecting the narrative. Marçal tried to pivot the conversation into an intellectual measuring contest with Martell to avoid answering the actual question about Vegas. But the true disaster, the moment that degraded the entire medium of reality television, was what followed.
Oh, God, the curve. I completely lost it. I lost my mind. I lost my appetite. I almost lost my will to live. Martell is desperately trying to prove he knows intimate, undeniable details about Maurice's cheating, so he claims Maurice's anatomy is unique. And Carlos, messy, chaotic, instigating Carlos, turns and asks Kimmi about it on national television. He asks her to verify the geometry of their husband's penis.
It was a degradation of the entire format. We left the realm of marital drama and entered a urology clinic.
And Kimmi proudly states, leaning forward like she's winning a Nobel Prize, "It curves perfectly to me." I gagged. I physically gagged in my living room. I had to put my wine glass down on the coaster and walk away for a minute.
And I spiraled over to the fact that they spent premium, highly produced national television airtime unpacking the specific curvature of Maurice's junk. Let's put this in perspective. We have multi-million-dollar real estate deals failing. We have decades-long friendships dissolving into bitter hatred. We have allegations of financial abuse. And we are pausing all of that narrative momentum to analyze the trajectory of this man's member.
It was horrifying. Who says that on TV? It curves perfectly to me. I'm deeply traumatized.
It was completely unnecessary and deeply unseemly. However, from a psychological standpoint, it was a brilliant distraction tactic. By throwing something so utterly absurd and visceral into the conversation, they successfully derailed the entire line of questioning. We completely forgot about the Vegas side chick because we were too busy reeling from the anatomical overshare. It was a smokescreen for Maurice's other massive glaring issue, his DUI math.
Yes, the DUI math. Let's get into Maurice's DUI math because the numbers are absolutely not adding up.
Let's line up the facts analytically because this timeline is a work of pure, unadulterated fiction. Maurice is on the stage, sweating slightly, trying to explain away his highly publicized arrest. He claims he was driving at 4 a.m. He claims he hit a tree. Then subsequently he claims he hit a pole. Then, as a final act of vehicular chaos, he claims he hit an animal. A triple threat crash.
A tree, a pole, and an animal. Was he driving a monster truck through a zoo in the middle of a dense forest? What is this obstacle course he was navigating at 4 in the morning?
Exactly. The physics and vehicular dynamics alone are highly questionable. But then he claims that because of this multi-impact high-velocity collision, he suffered a severe concussion. He says he was transported to the hospital and was there from 4 a.m. to 11:00 a.m., and that concussion protocol is the only reason he wasn't officially booked into the precinct for the DUI until noon. He is using a 7-hour hospital stay to explain the massive time gap between a 4 a.m. crash and a 12 p.m. booking photo.
But wait, the paramedics at the scene of a triple impact crash at 4 a.m. didn't give him a breathalyzer. The police officers who responded to a wrecked car on the side of the road just let him go to the hospital with a concussion without testing his blood alcohol level or sending an officer with him. Lies. But the worst part, the absolute most telling part of this entire saga, is Kimmi's reaction. I was screaming at the television.
Kimmi's snooze button is the smoking gun of this entire marriage. It reveals everything you need to know about their baseline dynamic.
Kimmi claims, sitting right there on the stage, that she woke up at 4 a.m. She looked over, realized her husband, Maurice, wasn't in bed and wasn't home, and what did she do? Did she panic? Did she call the police? No. She just went back to sleep. She rolled over, fluffed her pillow, and went to sleep. Point out the glaring inconsistency.
Happily. We have archival footage. Last season, in her solo confessional, Kimmi explicitly stated that when he didn't come home that night, she was frantic, she was pacing the floors, and she started calling all the local hospitals looking for him. Now suddenly, on the reunion stage, the story has morphed into, I was just tired and went back to bed.
Make it make sense.
You cannot have two radically different truths. Either you were a frantic wife calling the ICU, or you hit the snooze button.
And if you hit the snooze button, it means something way, way worse. Which brings us to Martell and Nell's ultimate read, which was so razor-sharp and accurate it stung through the screen.
It was a surgical psychological strike. They highlighted the grim reality. If Kimmi woke up at 4 a.m., saw her husband missing, and genuinely wasn't worried enough to call his cell phone or the police, it is because she is entirely used to him staying out that late doing God knows what.
You bingo. You do not go back to sleep peacefully if your husband is missing in the middle of the night unless missing at 4 a.m. is his standard operating procedure. She is accustomed to the chronic disrespect. She knows he's out in these Huntsville streets acting single, and she has just accepted it to the point where she has normalized the deviance. She can literally sleep through his infidelity. It's actually incredibly sad when you strip away the reality TV drama.
It's pathetic, honestly. It is the definition of accepting emotional scraps and trying to convince the world it's a feast.
Speaking of accepting scraps and convincing the world it's a feast, we have to wrap this recap up with Destiny and Lance's DNA drama, because this man is a menace to society.
Lance is a walking, talking red flag, waving violently in hurricane force winds. He possesses traits that border on the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and a complete lack of empathy.
We find out that Lance abruptly ditched the cast trip in LA earlier this season because he found out he had a baby on the way, a whole entire infant, and he completely hid this massive life-altering information from Destiny while they were actively dating, traveling together, and talking about their future.
The level of calculated deception is staggering. It requires a frightening amount of compartmentalization. He is courting Destiny, flying her around, talking about long-term commitment, looking her in the eyes, while actively waiting for a paternity test on a newborn child he conceived with another woman. He split his reality into two separate timelines and lied to everyone involved.
And on the stage, Lance looks at Carlos and claims he really wanted to be exclusive and eventually marry Destiny. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my wine.
I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my own optic nerve. Lance claiming he wants marriage as a threat, not a promise. The man has already ruined 2 marriages that we know of. He doesn't want a wife to build a life with. He wants a third victim to absorb his chaos.
Yes, a third victim, and then the absolute cherry on top of this messy, deceptive Sunday. Carlos asking if they were intimate. Lance and Destiny playfully mocking the panel, giggling, denying having actual sex, but coyly admitting to intimate moments.
I am completely over the semantic games. They are grown adults in their 40s, acting like teenagers in a high school cafeteria, trying to avoid getting in trouble with the principal. We didn't have sex, but we were intimate. We all know what that means. It's a ridiculous evasion. Just own your behavior or refuse to discuss it entirely. The coy giggling while discussing a relationship built on a secret baby is exhausting.
So exhausting. This reunion took years off my life. My cortisol levels are spiked, but we have to power through because it is time for our favorite part of the show. It is time for our segments.
Let's pivot to the analysis. Segment 1. Business, petty, or pure chaos?
Okay, Snark Squad, you know the drill. We take the biggest, messiest conflicts from the episode and we rigorously debate their true categorization. Was it business, personal, petty, or pure chaos? Let's start with the big one. Marcel locking Tisha out of Sculpt in Black. What is your ruling?
I am taking a cold, purely analytical stance here, divorced from emotion. I am ruling this as business.
Wait, what?
Hear me out before you yell at me. Marcel is a horrible, unsupportive husband. However, from a purely sociopathic corporate standpoint, he wants someone working 2,080 hours a year. He wants a dedicated, full-time, relentless operational manager. Tisha, by her own admission, wants to leave at 3 p.m. for PTA meetings and juggle hats. From a ruthless business execution standpoint, he recognized an operational liability, someone who couldn't commit the required hours and removed it to protect the asset. It's cruel, it's terrible for their marriage, but it's business.
I vehemently disagree. Vehemently. I am ruling this as petty. 100% petty with a capital P. It is not about the business. It is entirely about punishment. Marcel is punishing her for not submitting to his authority completely. He doesn't want her to have her own identity, her own income stream, or her own success, because if she does, she might realize she doesn't need him. Locking her out of the office isn't a corporate strategy. It's a temper tantrum from a tiny man who needs to feel big by making his wife feel small. He could easily hire an assistant to cover the hours Tisha's with the kids, but he chooses to lock her out instead. Petty.
We will have to log that as a split decision. Let's move to the next one. Tisha bringing up Fletcher's past infidelities to Nell out of nowhere on the reunion stage.
Pure chaos. Immediate ruling. No debate. Pure villainous chaos.
I completely agree. There is no business angle to justify it. It's not a personal defense because Nell wasn't attacking Tisha's marriage at that exact moment, and it goes way beyond petty gossip. It was an unprovoked, chaotic, scorched earth strike designed solely to burn the stage down because Tisha was losing the argument and feeling insecure.
Yeah.
It was pure deflection wrapped in malice.
Exactly. She had no logical ammo left, so she just pulled the pin on her grenade and threw it across the room. Okay, last one to this segment. Lance hiding his pending paternity test and an entire secret infant from Destiny while actively discussing marriage with her. I say petty. He was being a cowardly, petty little boy who didn't want to ruin his fun, glamorous dates with Destiny by bringing up the heavy reality of his life. He wanted to play pretend boyfriend in a fantasy world.
I have to overrule you here with extreme prejudice. This is pure chaos. Who hides an entire developing human life while actively discussing legal marriage with a new partner. That is not petty. That is psychopathic level chaos. You are bringing an innocent child into a complex web of lies before it even takes its first breath. You're also robbing Destiny of her right to informed consent regarding who she is dating. The level of deception required to pull that off is chaotic and deeply dangerous.
Oof, you make a terrifyingly good point. The lack of informed consent is wild. Pure chaos it is for Lance.
Okay, moving on to segment 2, the brunch seating chart. Oh, this requires high-level strategic planning and conflict mitigation.
We are hypothetically hosting the Snark brunch. We have endless mimosas, and we have to assign every cast member a specific seat. Let's start with the VIP section. Who sits together? I am immediately seating Nell right next to me at the absolute head of the table. She is bringing the unfiltered truth. She is reading people to filth with perfect diction. And honestly, I want her bedazzled cane resting against the table right next to my purse, just in case things get out of hand. She is my VIP.
A wise choice for both security and entertainment value. Now, the critical question, who gets separated for the safety of the group? I am taking executive action here. I am forcibly separating Kimmi and Tisha. I am putting a massive, impenetrable, overly elaborate floral centerpiece, perhaps an entire oak tree, directly between them. They cannot make eye contact. If they sit together, they form a toxic echo chamber of delusion. They gang up on the weaker cast members, and they gaslight the entire table. The alliance must be broken for the brunch to survive.
Yes, break the alliance. Put a whole ficus tree between them. Block their line of sight. Okay, and the most important question for any Sunday brunch, who arrives 45 minutes late with fresh, devastating gossip. It has to be Destiny. I can vividly see it now. We are halfway through our spinach quiche, and Destiny struts in 45 minutes late, wearing oversized sunglasses indoors, looking completely unbothered. And because Tisha claimed on the stage that she wants her cake and to eat it too, Destiny is carrying a giant 3-tier custom bakery cake, sets it down on the center of the table, and doesn't say a single word to Tisha the entire afternoon.
The visual poetry of that is spectacular. I would personally cut the first slice of that petty cake.
Okay, segment 3, Glam Girl versus Farm Girl. Inspired by our own traumatic Dude Ranch weekend, we are rigorously ranking the cast's farm survival skills.
This thought experiment should be deeply humiliating for them.
Okay, who is going to complain within 5 minutes of arriving in the farm? I am giving this to Marcel. 100%. He talks a massive game about building, construction, and being a manly boss, but the second he gets actual, authentic horse dust on his pristine, custom-ordered, monogrammed hard hat, he is out. He would demand a lavender-scented wet wipe and an air-conditioned trailer immediately.
Accurate. His boots are for Fashion Week, not for mucking stalls.
Yeah.
He would claim the pollen is interfering with his allergies.
Yeah.
Okay, who would secretly hire someone else to do the actual work? This is Kimmi, without a doubt. Kimmi would look at a shovel, look at a massive pile of manure, and immediately call out her iPhone. She would pay a local, hard-working ranch, hand $100 in cash, take a highly curated, perfectly lit selfie with a horse in the background, post it to Instagram with a long caption about hard work, country roots, and finding peace in the dirt, and then go sit in the lodge drinking a mimosa. She would claim she did the labor to everyone.
She absolutely would. Just a country girl at heart, grinding.
Yeah.
Lies. Okay, who would somehow turn barn chores into a high-fashion runway show? Tisha. Tisha would show up to shovel manure in a full face of beet clam. We are talking mink lashes, heavy contour, and a lip gloss that catches the morning light. She would be carrying a brand new, oversized designer tote bag directly into the barn and then spend the next hour loudly complaining that her outfit is ruined, her shoes are scuffed, and the horses are looking at her funny.
And she would expect Marcel to buy her a new Birkin bag as financial compensation for her agricultural trauma.
Oh.
Now, finally, who would actually thrive in this environment? Now, I will argue this to my dying day. Nell would run the entire agricultural operation by day 2. She would be yelling at the roosters to wake up on time. She would not take an ounce of disrespect from a 1,200-pound stallion. She would be managing the seasonal crop rotation, fixing the engine on the John Deere tractor, and terrifying the farmhands into peak operational efficiency.
Nell would have that farm turning a massive profit by Tuesday afternoon. She is a force of nature. Okay, final segment. The Monday Motivation Awards. We are handing out our episodic superlatives to get the Snark Squad through the work week.
Let's distribute the hardware.
First up, main character energy. I am giving this prestigious award to Nell, staying completely seated in your chair, not raising your blood pressure, while simultaneously destroying both Kimmi and Tisha with just your vocabulary. That is supreme main character energy. She didn't even have to break a sweat.
A well-deserved win for stoicism. Next, biggest overreaction. I am officially awarding this to Kimmi, the "I'll dunk your ass in that pool" threat over a simple seated conversation where you weren't even the primary target. It was unhinged, it was loud, and it was a massive, embarrassing overcompensation to try and look tough.
It was so embarrassing for her life and her soul. Okay, next award. Quietest mastermind. I am ironically giving this to Carlos King.
Oh, absolutely. The architect of the misery.
He sits back in his little black and white referee stripes, pretending he just wants peace and resolution, but he is instigating absolute warfare. He asks the most invasive, destructive questions, pokes the deepest marital insecurities, and then just crosses his legs and watches the cast run each other to the ground while he sips tea from his mug. He is a menace.
He is the puppet master of chaos. He knows exactly which string to pull to make the whole structure collapse. Now, best one-liner. I am awarding this to whoever off-camera muttered, "Yellow big rodent," during the Tisha and Destiny fight.
Yes, I heard that in the background.
It was pure, unfiltered, nonsensical shade. It added absolutely nothing to the narrative. It made very little grammatical sense, but it was hilarious and deeply disrespectful. A perfect reality TV background moment.
Yellow big rodent. I am going to start using that when someone cuts me off in traffic. Okay, final award. Most likely to start drama before breakfast. It'd have to be Tisha. Let's be real about her daily routine. Tisha wakes up, immediately complains to Marcel that her pillow wasn't fluffed correctly, gets ignored by him as he reads his emails, and then immediately picks up her phone and texts the group chat with a lie or a shady comment just to feel a spark of adrenaline. She starts the fire before her coffee is even brewed.
Her baseline physiological state is agitation. She needs conflict to feel visible. It's a fitting award.
We made it through. We survived the Dude Ranch. We survived the grueling drive, and we survived this dumpster fire of a reunion.
Barely, but our analytical faculties remain intact.
Okay, Snark Squad, I am turning directly to you. We need to know in the comments, could you actually survive cleaning a horse barn? Or are you a soft glam baddie like us who would cry over a broken nail in the hay? Be brutally honest. And, this is crucial, what is your ultimate soul-healing road trip McDonald's order? We need the exact specifics of your survival meal.
I will be judging your beverage and dipping sauce choices harshly. But before we go, I want to leave everyone with a final thought to mull over. We laugh at the mess, we dissect the NDAs and the screaming matches, but it really begs a larger question about us as viewers. What does our insatiable appetite for watching these specific, deeply toxic marriages implode say about our own societal tolerance for dysfunction? Are we watching to feel better about our own lives, or are we slowly normalizing the very behaviors like financial abuse and chronic infidelity that we claim to condemn? Just something to think about while you eat your chicken nuggets.
Oh, wow. Leaving them with the heavy sociological read. I love it. Snark Squad, while you ponder the depths of your own reality TV consumption, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with another messy snarker in your life. The algorithm feeds on our collective snark.
Yes, feed the algorithm so we can continue the diagnosis.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
We love you. Stay messy.
Stay glamorous.
And we'll see you on the snark side.